Yeah. Make sure you wipe that coat off. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip board meeting. Today is June 15th, 2020, and we'll call this meeting order at 7:31. Can we call the roll, please?
Sure. Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez?
Here.
Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Nava Esparza? Here. Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, officers' reports, starting with myself. Trustees, we did receive, and I appreciate everybody's support last week's meeting. We were able to come upon we want to do what we can to support the community and its need for, most people all have face covering masks at this time, but I get constant calls to my office to see if we can still do more for the community in that regard, to at least have a couple extra for their car and whatnot. So I appreciate the board supporting that effort last week. We did make a purchase of 30,000 3-ply mask, the display mask, and we were told we could get a up to 75% reimbursed through government monies, and so we did place that order with board approval last week. That shipment just showed up the other day, and we have it stored. Roger Early couldn't be here this evening, but we do have that product stored. I want to put the feelers out and see if the trustees were interested in helping distribute those. Tentatively, I was thinking that the soonest we could do this was maybe, we got to make it available to folks, even if they work and whatnot yet too, because it's still going to be first come, first serve. But I'm thinking either this coming Thursday night, maybe do something like from 5:30 till 8, or even on Saturday. Saturdays are kind of tough sometimes, But let's put it this way, we're going to advertise it. We'll use our Facebook, social media. We get e-blast and stuff like that. So most everybody with electronics can get it. Unless we put it out a week, we can put it on we can post it tomorrow in the Mount Greenwood Express. But again, not everybody gets a newspaper either. It's smoke signals. Everybody's got a different way of getting signals all the time.
Weekends, Father's Day weekend.
You're right. I was thinking Saturday, but again, even if it's on a Thursday evening, where we can make it available for Alsip residents, and if they show up, whether they walk up, drive up, whichever, we'll have it right here at the Village Hall in the parking lot. If you can demonstrate that you're a resident, certainly we'll take care of you with some disposable masks. So we've got plenty here. What's the feeling? Are you anybody available Thursday night?
Today's the only night I have plans this week.
My question is you said you could demonstrate on, if you're a resident, so like check them off on or just first come first serve.
It's first come first serve. If you
I still want somebody coming up taking 20 masks or
an ID.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to do it proportionately. We got to make them stretch them out.
Are these individually wrapped?
Beck, were they? Yeah, we'll have to take a look. I don't think they are. I think they come in groups all the time, like most product. You might have.
You can hand them out with gloves, and that's
yeah, exactly.
That's not an issue. I have plenty.
Let's put it this way. I'm just speaking of this right now because it just happened. So, why does everybody get back to me and let me know your availability, and we'll set something up then too. Okay. Next, I had. Just to let everybody know, I know we're still trying to sort out this issue with implementing some equipment from Paylocity that interfaces with our scheduling equipment from EladTech. And I spoke with Shanae Hunter today, our IT manager, and Brian Vasari, our IT manager. And we have a meeting set up tentatively right now for the 24th of this month at 1 o'clock. and we're going to talk, and I'm inviting all the department heads as well, too. We can go in the conference room and have a discussion on anybody's concerns as far as time clock usages or fob systems, whatnot. We'll bring it back to the board at the 29th meeting that we have at the end of the month, and we'll try and put this to rest as far as settling on which system that we need to utilize, which apparatus is best. And, so we'll try and, I'll have Sinead put something together. I'll ask her to be here on the 29th, and she can make their presentation. So first on your agendas this evening, I had the approval to purchase and install a Pedestal drop box on the Village Hall property. This will be utilized as a municipal walk or drive-up secure payment drop box, or for any other utility where security is necessary when payments or documents need to be deposited at the village. The cost of this equipment is approximately $800 and can be installed by Public Works. Village IT can certainly follow up with maybe a camera and more adequate lighting to support its use and safety. Next on the agenda was the of an ordinance Chapter 3, advertising. This is 2 signs, Section 3-27, prohibited signs, and Section 330, location of signs in zoning districts of the municipal code of the Village of Alsip. So I did, both of these were included in your packets, both informations. Certainly on the Pedestal drop box, just to go back to that real quick, it's a secure box with a single key with a double lock that can obviously give adequate security to anything that needs to be dropped off. Many communities are utilizing something like this, and my goal was, obviously in the interest of reducing person-to-person contact or after work deposits, pay your water bills, pay anything that you had to pay, maybe even building permits and whatnot, that kind of thing. We've got a drive-up box to make it more convenient for the residents of the village to use. Many other communities are doing the same thing. On the second, the approval of the sign ordinance, this is where we were looking to incorporate the use of signage, electronic billboard per se, and the way the ordinance read on this, everyone's got a copy in their packet. Actually, that's probably easiest for me to get to here too real quick. Just want to make a kind of a bullet point. Prohibited sign, except as provided in this article, stays shall be strictly throughout the village. Advertising signs except in the form of multi-message digital monument signs at locations authorized in Section 330, which is what we just spoke of, and those advertising signs in the form of a multi-message digital monument signs in the corner lots at corners or intersections of 2 county roads or 2 state roads or a county and a state thoroughfare, provided the sign structure does not exceed 12 feet tall in height or 16 feet in width. The sign company did make a note to me, and I'm sorry I didn't get back to Attorney Joe Kankar. They did say that the where it says in a 2-foot depth, it's actually a 4-foot depth is what they were looking for. To put a structure on there, so it's not just a skinny, it's got a little bit of size to it then too. And the digital video display panel does not exceed 8 feet in height or 16 feet in width. The digital video display panel shall be erected not less than 4 feet from the ground, and the sign structure shall be situated at the lot such as a 45-degree angle. And so forth. The center of the face of the sign shall be no closer than 12 feet and no further than 50 feet from the corner lot yet too. So I know we didn't have this ordinance at our last committee meeting. We did have a discussion on it, And I know we've had this presentation probably last year or the year before, we were entertaining the same idea. Again, I just feel that with communicating messages, whether it's emergency messages, maybe local functions on behalf of the village, we would actually be entitled to be involved in the rotation of those messages for however many people were on that sign. It might have 9 people advertising on that signage, and we, number 10 message comes up every 10th message, and then too. Trustee Murphy's probably a couple seasons ago, Chris, and this is similar to the signs that you see in Country Club Hills, Joliet, and there's one right here at 103rd and Cicero and Oak Lawn as well then too. This is of no cost to the village, and really it's obviously it's an advantage to us if we could, not to mention in today's need for more, say revenues to be generated, maybe the signage does such, much like you see on expressways and whatnot then too. My thing is, certainly we would have to agree with where the sign company wants to position the signage, but I don't want it to be where it's an, we've talked about this many times, I don't want it to be an obstruction or a distraction to drivers as they go by as well too. So it doesn't seem like the one on 103rd does that. You got to kind of look for it a little bit when you get up on it and stuff then too.
Well, it's at a red light, so I know I travel that route every day, and I'm drawn to it. And, I see the advertisements. I probably see 3 while I'm parked there. I don't see it as an issue. I don't think they're monstrosities. I think they're very well done. I think they look great. And if it's going to help the local businesses with, advertising their businesses, especially now when they're challenged, I'd be all for it.
So this ordinance only identifies with that corner signage too. Mike, did you see this one at all?
Well, yeah, Joe prepared it.
Yes.
I read it.
Yeah. And
But the way it identifies it, though, we could have it up to 14 different locations on Pulaski alone. When you think about the corners and the major intersections,
I don't think they identified 14 in there, did they?
it's every intersection where state and county or state or county intersect. And if you go from 100th to 127th and count the corners,
You wouldn't have, but you wouldn't have, no, but intersect like that. When you go down Pulaski,
you got 115th, 119th, 123rd, and 127th.
that's 4.
Times,
But they don't cross 4 corners.
but they do. 119th,
not-
123rd, and 127th are all
Not by a state, like 119th Street is not a
the
state-owned.
county road.
That crosses 119th and Pulaski?
Mm-hmm. 123rd's a county road.
I know 123rd is, okay. But anyway,
127th.
it's limited intersection. Again, you gotta have the setback and everything else in order to accommodate that and stuff then too. So, I believe, was, I don't know, first, somebody here from Chicago Billboard? Just nobody here from there? Okay. I didn't invite anybody this evening because I know we were pretty versed in this already and so forth then too. But again, the board, we spoke of this last week, and it's certainly, the ordinance only, Mr. Kankar, only pertains to just those corner lots, correct?
Right.
Right, no other signage other than those corner lots, and only, and only corners that are, like you were saying, trustee, that are either county or county-state, that's it, but not individual corners as you go down the street and stuff then, too.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't get 117th Street or 118th
Right,
Street.
exactly, right, okay. So
But
you wouldn't see them
it's-
in the middle of the
Wouldn't see them in the
block.
middle of the block, but it
Right.
is every major intersection along both Pulaski
I was just a
and
little fuzzy
Cicero.
on 119th Street, that's all. I know 123rd was, I know 115th is. So it's really just the major ones where we have in most cases where there's a traffic signal, the county usually has, or the state has got priority, they own those roads. So, anyway, that's all I had on my agenda for this evening. Clerk's report?
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Presentation and approval of the May 2020 FOIA report. There were 17 requests last month. And presentation and approval of the May 2020 IDOT motor fuel tax allotment in the amount of $45,268.50. That is all, Mayor Ryan.
Thank you. Attorney's report, we have Mike Hankar with us. Okay. Report, he was excused from this. Dan, did you know did he have any for this evening too? Okay, he didn't send me anything for the evening. Public forum, did anyone in the audience wish to address the board this evening? Nobody? All right. Next, the standing committee reports. We'll start with the Finance Committee and IT. Trustee McLaurin.
First, I have a request for approval of a list of payroll dated June 2020 totaling $415,049.72. Next, I have a request for approval of accounts payable dated June 15th, 2020. From the recap, General Fund, $400,223.11. Road and Bridge, $15,456.75. MFT, $752.82. Pulaski Road Corridor TIF, $253.50. Water and Sewer, $284,689.59. Heritage, $9,917.76. Series 2015 Bond Fund, $96,662.50. And the Series 2017 Bond Fund, $107,500, for a grand total all funds of $915,456.03. And finally, I have a request for approval of an appropriation ordinance providing for a fiscal year 21 covering the period of May 1, 2020 through April 30th of 2021, not 2020, annual appropriation and budget for the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. That is all I have there.
Thank you. Next, with the Fire Committee report, Trustee Murphy.
I have approval of the National Fire Reporting System April and May 2020 monthly activity report, and finally I have the approval of the Fire Prevention Bureau May 2020 monthly activity report. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we've got the Police and Traffic Safety. Trustee Dalzell.
The approval of the Police Department May 2020 monthly activity report. That's all I have, Mayor.
Trustees, I did meet with Chief Miller this morning, and again, thank him and his department. They're doing a great job. They've been offering a lot of support to our neighboring communities the past week or two with regard to support with protest marches that were taking place, and the officers have been doing a great job assisting the need for that yet then too. So I'm supposed to address some of the officers this week when they have an opportunity with the chief, with his permission to do so, and just remind everybody they're doing a great job and so forth then too. So next is the Public Works and Boat Launch report. Trustee Juarez.
No report.
All right. The Water and Sewer report. Trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you. I have the approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, approving a water supply contract with the Southland Water Agency. And I believe we have
Oh, yeah. I'm
representatives
sorry.
here.
Aaron, I didn't know you were coming this evening. Thank you for being here tonight yet, too. It's from Aaron Fundage is here from Robinson Engineering. Did anyone have any questions on this tonight that Aaron can answer for us?
And thank you, Mayor. We also have our...
Yeah, I'm sorry, Aaron. Come on up.
Sorry, Erin, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to be here. I also have from the Southland Water Agency our agency attorney, Mike Roth from Ice Miller, and our Executive Committee Chairman, Jay Weinsman.
Thanks, Jack.
Who was here with me a couple months ago.
Okay.
Mayor, on the handout, they indicated that there's an asterisk that denotes charter members. RV Wall. I failed to find asterisks to identify these.
Yeah, because the asterisks don't show.
In Phoenix.
Phoenix is a customer of South Holland, but not a charter member themselves.
I see. Thank you.
Any, can I ask Aaron, any Any more communities that have committed to the program since we spoke last?
Not officially as of today. The 3 charter members all did commit over the past 30 days, but we have Alsip is this evening. We've got a series of communities over the next 7 days that I can, or actually next 10 days. Tonight is Alsip, tomorrow night Lansing, Wednesday Markham is scheduled, then next week on Monday Country Club Hills, Tuesday Glenwood and Hazelcrest, Wednesday Calumet City and Midlothian, Thursday Calumet Park.
Okay.
So we've got quite a few communities, and if they all do votively, we'd be somewhere around 28, 29 million gallons a day, which exceeds that minimum of 20 million gallon a day threshold that we felt we needed to have to be cost effective from day one.
If they all got on board.
If they're all on board, correct.
Right.
We're reasonably confident that all the communities that we just named are viewing it positively right now.
Okay.
So the communities you just named are not on board yet. You're going to those meetings as well?
Yes, except a couple of them have told us that we probably don't need to be there because they're that comfortable with the prior presentation. But the vast majority of them, we will be in attendance, yes.
Also, it indicates in here that South Palos Township is via Alsip.
They're technically served by Palos Heights.
I didn't see that, trustee. That was in your packet?
Yeah, it's the second line from the bottom.
Second page. It was a handout, Mayor.
Oh,
It's on, there, this one.
I got it. Okay.
We don't have a direct contract with them. It's through Payless Heights.
Okay. Okay.
Does all these other communities have the same financial buy-in that we do?
If they commit by July 1st, they will have the same 50,000 per MGD, yes.
And then,
I'm sorry.
good.
That's assuming that the board does what you think they're going to do, which is that it's not just the first 20 MDDs. You want to,
Correct.
there's an assumption it's probably true.
Right. Officially, the board, the agency board, has this $50,000 per MGD incentive for the first 20 million gallons per day, as long as they're committed by July 1st. It appears right now that we will be more than 20 million gallons a day before July 1st. And while it will require official board action to change what they voted on back in December, I believe it was, we believe that if we exceed 20 million gallons before July 1st, but some towns had a board meeting on a Thursday instead of a Monday, and it varied only for that reason, that they will all be granted the same 50,000 per MGD. Communities that wouldn't commit until after July 1st would definitely, and we're already at 20 million gallons, the number will triple from 50,000 per MGD to 150,000, as well as diminished long-term rate guarantees in terms of the incentives for the early adopters.
Okay. Trustee Navas-Sparks, I know you put a piece in here based on, looks like maybe a news article. Did you want to elaborate on that, or is that just?
Well, I just my research, and I know we've discussed this very thoroughly. Went on, online and looking at articles and so forth. And one I found was via the Citizens Utility Board, and it was just commenting about like the privatization of water and so forth like that. And I know that there's a concern that what if Chicago were to go that route, right? And then, but what if they don't? And also, one of the policy proposals that the Citizens Utility Board is that something this big of an issue, such as water, they're pushing for it to be brought to like a referendum, that the community should have the input versus having a board make that decision. And so, it's and also comments have been made by other trustees. It's just like there's this big rush. It feels rushed to make this decision with the amount of money that's being asked up front, and how much of that is going to be put, towards capital versus, other expenses that we might have to in essence, absorb, to make sure that we're committing to something that's a good fit for our community.
A very good point, for sure. And if I can try to answer that, and Jay, I'm not sure if you'd want to speak up as well, but the upfront application fees that we're considering right now, none of that will go to the hard capital construction costs. That will all be financed separately by the agency via revenue bonds that are supported by the water supply contracts that the communities would all be executing. The upfront costs are to help defray a portion of cost that the agency has over the last couple of years, incurring over the next several years before the water actually is going to need to be, for example, land acquisition. In order to purchase property where the water treatment site will go, there's going to need to be money involved with that before we actually build the system, before the agency actually starts collecting revenues. There will be professional costs, whether it is engineering or legal or auditing. There will be a lot of different aspects of the project over the next couple of years that won't necessarily be funded by construction bonds, but nonetheless need incurred in the short term to put the agency in position to go after the construction bonds when the time is right. So these are really for a lot of the soft costs. The second part of the incentive, the very strong incentives by July 1st is due to the fact that many of you may have read also that there's a very large community in southwest Will County, Joliet, who is they're still on well water today, as are many of the communities around Joliet. Joliet City Council voted at the first of this year that they're definitely going to go to Lake Michigan water for their future water supply source, and they are moving forward rapidly in the final decision as to how that's going to be accomplished. They may very well buy water from Chicago. They may very well build their own independent system, very similar to the agency system, by going through Indiana. Or the third option would be to partner with the Southland Water Agency to help each group defray considerable amount of costs by combining a system with the Southwest Will County group. Part of the reason that it's important for the agency to make sure that we get to our critical threshold by July 1st is those negotiations will be beginning in earnest next month. Joliet is going to make a decision among those three options, or at least they've publicly communicated that decision will be made by the end of this year. And so in order for the water agency to be, I would say, at least on a level playing field in terms of the size of financial commitment, the size of the ability for the agency to help Joliet defray its costs as much as Joliet will help us defray ours, it's important for the agency to be on a level playing field, which is why this July 1st date, another major reason for that. The third reason is the federal WIFIA financing program. It was believed, at least before COVID, that the applications for that were going to be due in early July, as they have been the prior 2 years. It does look like that time frame is delayed by 60 to 90 days at the current time. But we do know that federal financing application we're going to need to put in probably by this fall to make sure that we've got a sound application with the group of communities that's going to, again, by July 1st.
Thank you for the explanation. And just we're having a dialogue, and just also, we're trying to act in the best interest of Alsip in our community and still being regional partners. And I understand that Joliet has this issue, and they're asking Southland communities to be involved. But, as an Alsip community, we have a locational advantage where we're near Chicago, and if other municipalities decide to go a different route within the Southland in the future, I guess there's lots of ifs still that also haven't been unanswered. That's all I'll add to my comment to everyone here, is our locational advantage in the proximity to Oak Lawn and also Chicago and other options that we might have in the future.
Should this be approved as well, too, we actually did make some, which obviously will go back to your council as well, too, so you can, it just we had our attorney review the contract that you gave us, and Joe pretty much took that from a 34-page to a 29-page, but that's for you folks to approve if you decide, if we approve this action tonight yet then too, so.
Joe did get us all of his comments, and he mentioned that if the board was to consider this evening, that it would be contingent upon the two attorneys working out the final language, which we don't envision being a problem in the coming week.
Okay.
Aaron, could I ask you please to sign in? Thank you.
Sure.
Trustee Narvaez-Esparza mentioned the local advance. There is actually a locational agenda already because we're supplied directly from any middlemen municipalities. The rates that Alsip would be paying right off the bat would be less portion of the other customers out there. That's not going to be paying the same rates. We right now pay a lesser rate than the majority municipalities, and this structure that they set up would also, for the short term, and by short term I mean decades, ultimately it's going to get all at the same level, but there is an advantage that would still be maintained by having that location.
According to the calendar that was passed to us, Mayor, there's 8 communities that are going to have this very same discussion over the next 2 weeks. We have a board meeting on the 29th. While I'm not necessarily a proponent of kicking the can down the road,
That's
we
committee
don't.
meeting
It's
night.
a committee meeting on the
Committee meeting.
29th.
Well, we can certainly schedule a board meeting to follow it.
I believe that what Aaron said is correct, that that their board, and again, we're not a member of the SWA, that's separate municipalities, but the original agreement that they approved said that before July, the best rate is before July 1st and the first 20 million gallons. They weren't sure if they were going to hit 20 million gallons a day back when they did that. With all of these votes, if you're on the back end of you probably, there's a decent chance that 20 million gallons would have already happened. In all likelihood, what Aaron just said, which is that they're not going to hold it against you as long as you get it done by July 1st, you're going to get the best rate. In all likelihood, that's going to happen, but that's not a vote that they've actually had. The vote that they had said by July 1st and part of the first 20 million. So in theory, there is a difference between voting on it today and voting on a special board meeting at the end of the month. I doubt there'll be a difference. Aaron just stated he doubted there'd be a difference, but technically, what their board has approved, there is right now still a difference.
Well, I appreciate you confirming that, because, again, maybe we do get focused on dates sometimes, but it's the first 20 million gallons.
It's the
that you're
first
shooting.
20 million, technically.
Right.
In all likelihood, that will be waived. They're going to want as many yet. They got it by July 1st. It shows even more viability to the project that they're really after to defray everyone's cost. It's a win-win the more you get. In all likelihood, that's going to be waived, but that has not been done to date.
Right. Thanks for the explanation, Ken. And going back to what Trustee Dalzell was saying, yeah, we have a committee meeting on the 29th, and if we need, certainly we can, if this isn't approved this evening, we can certainly follow that with a board meeting for a vote on the thing then too. But, yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
I was going to, the other comment regarding the geographic advantages that Alsip has, that is something that the agency contemplated amongst all of its potentials, and that's why in our contract, we are guaranteeing, especially for the early adopters, that in Alsip's case, Chicago is your supplier, that we will be at least 5% below Chicago from day one, and that rate would maintain flat for 10 years minimum. And we're that confident by reaching the critical mass that we're going to have, that's why it's in your written contract that way. The other thing I can say, and we just confirmed this month, There was a little bit of debate whether or not Chicago was going to raise water rates as of June 1st. They did. All of our models, financial models that we have used, is based on Chicago increasing an average of 2% each year. Well, we're already a couple pennies ahead because they went up 2.5% this year when they went up 10 cents as of June 1st. So right now, the projections that we have, I think, are even more solid than when we were here a few months ago.
Okay. And again, Aaron, your agreement, the Southland Water Agency's agreement, I should say, is that you will always be, you're going to be 5% lower in cost than whatever Chicago is for 10 years, and then where's the mark after that again then?
Well, and the caveat to that, the 5% is an incentive guarantee for communities that sign on by July 1st. After July 1st, that drops to 3%.
That's the number I was stuck at.
Correct.
Okay.
But then, so again, it would be flat for the first 10 years. From years 11 through 50, agency thing that would never go by, never increase by 1% in any for the 40 years. For the life of the 50-year contract, you'd never see more than a 2% increase in a year after the first 10 years.
You said you're going to be visiting with 8 communities in the next 2 weeks?
8 communities, and a couple of them are similar to Alsip in that they also serve other customers. So the aggregate total, when we count Alsip with 3 towns and Lansing has another town, Calumet, it ultimately ends up about 15 towns. 15.
Okay. Is there a way or a possibility that you can see us on our next meeting on the 29th and let us know what those communities have decided?
I personally cannot because I'm going to be on vacation that week preceding 4th of July, but the agency, I'm sure, could have someone here if it was required.
Okay.
Or certainly we could be by email contact. We've got one of them we know is voting tomorrow night because their committee saw it 2 weeks ago. We know that others will be definitely voting between now and that time. So we could play by play as each one goes if you'd like.
Would be appreciated.
Any other questions for Aaron or Jay or anybody?
And again, as they've discussed, and the thing that we got caught in last time, and while I understand it's not on the full faith and credit of our village, a lot of these soft costs, the legal, the engineering, the accounting, these are things that hadn't been brought to our attention, and while it's not our obligation, it's just, some of the names that I see in this are the same names that I saw in the previous Jawa. And those are the only people who had made money on it.
Jay, were you going to say something too?
Well, I guess I was just going to comment on the question of, Alsip waiting. First of all, I as a city manager myself, I don't ever like to feel rushed, and I don't like my board to ever feel rushed. But that's part of why this has been a months and months long process to try to inform everyone and what's in it and give the opportunity for the attorneys for the municipalities to study it and ask questions and all that sort of stuff. So, but there is really, it's a very significant opportunity for not just Alsip, but for all of us together as a Southland. So to be able to calculate the maximum what your water rates are going to be on day one of a 50-year contract is just simply doesn't exist anywhere. So if you know that it's going to be 5% below your contract on day one, flat 0% for 10 years, and a maximum of 2% from years 11 through 50, you can tell what on day one what the highest year rate would be 50 years later, which is a remarkable thing. We're absolutely confident that we can deliver on the promise, obviously, or we wouldn't be making it. But I also think that there's a lot of municipalities who, again, remember, this is momentum for all of us. I mean, there is no entity, SWA is only by us, for us. This is just for us. There's no entity with a profit motive here. There is nobody makes any money on this except for all of us save. So there is a leadership role, in my judgment, for Alsip. And what I mean by that is you guys are a heavy water user compared to a lot of the communities, even the 10 or 15 communities that are slated to be, to consider this over the course of the next 10 days, 2 weeks. And so your leadership, if you approve this agreement, it gives the small guys a lot of comfort. It's never the big guys who are looking at the little guys saying, I wonder if the little guys will go along. And so I want to encourage you to take a leadership role on it, because if we don't succeed in getting the minimum of 20 million gallons for the region, then it just simply wouldn't happen at all. It will not happen. And so all these tiny towns, I mean, there are some who use, 1.2 million gallons as opposed to, 8.5 that also. So I guess I'm encouraging the board to take a leadership role in it. I don't see that there is any opportunity for any municipality to lose. We've clearly designed it. I mean, if in the highly unlikely chance that the thing doesn't go forward, you're not tied to a 50-year contract, obviously. So there's almost no risk. We've, based on the feedback we got from this board last time, we went back and said, okay, instead of front fee having to be all paid at once, and by July 1st, we broke that down into over the course of 3 years, again, specifically based on the input from this board. Again, because we know what you guys do will have an impact on all these much smaller communities. So
I'm kind of stuck, and I've said this to the board in many meetings, is nobody's got a crystal ball. And obviously, right now with the way finances are for the city of Chicago, it's very intimidating. There are $387 billion in unfunded debt with pensions and so forth then too. There's always that possibility that, much like Trustee Dalzell and I were talking once before too, and they've got a lot of their own usage, whether it's their schools or their police and fire or their buildings that they own. So they would never do anything to jeopardize, raising costs against themselves. Right now, obviously, they're a free user and so forth, But should they ever step out of that circle and try and privatize that for any reason, just to, much like they have, the tollways and other things, they would put the onus on the suburbs in a heartbeat to pick up the difference for an aging infrastructure. And that's the part that kind of scares me about this whole thing, is I hate to think that, these are always decisions that we're thinking about for our future, that kind of thing. This is stuff where, filtration plants need to be built and whatnot then too. So this is where we got, I'll just say, I was very skeptical of when we lost the project years ago, and saw a lot of those soft costs, and that's what Trustee Dalzell was just referring to. We saw a lot of those soft costs that weren't even on a, prorated. You didn't have a solid project yet, and still you had agencies billing at, $250 an hour type of thing and stuff yet too. And I was always of the opinion, man, shouldn't those be half price for at least a little bit until you got a viable product here and stuff then too. So, I understand our skepticism a little bit. We think it's a great idea. And my biggest concern, money is always everyone's concern, but mine is the reason that we're such a big user here is we're an industrial community, and we've got a lot of companies here using a ton of water. Now, some guys, like the mini mills, they're fortunate to actually clean the water right out of the canal to use what they need for the paper purposes. I've seen it in action. But we've got a major hub like here with Coca-Cola and places like that, and we can never be assuming that they're going to be here. I mean, they're making, I don't even want to say how much money, because we're on camera here. They're investing, I've had a lot of meetings with their organization, and they're investing a lot of money in our community right now, and they're going to be introducing more product line and whatnot yet too. We got to keep that water affordable for them, because I never want them to think that they're paying too much and that they may pack up and try another country or whatever the case may be, that kind of thing. So these are things that we need to consider as an industrial community. Kent, you want to say something?
I think you have a really good point, Mayor. The reason that they can promise the next 50 years and know where they're going to be is they're not in this position the city of Chicago is at. When you build pipes from the very beginning and you know the lifespan of those pipes, you're going to have a clean water supply, and you know how long those pipes are, and you know exactly what the maintenance is going to be and when it comes in. It's basically bond payments. It's those bonds, the WIFIA that they're talking about, what those payments are. Whereas the city of Chicago, that system's only getting older. You know, it's got oakum joints, it's got very old pipes, and the reason we got hit twice in a row with multi-year increases that were much larger than what they've been doing in recent years is because they've got an old system, and it is not doing well. And when you look at a company like Coca-Cola or any of those other companies that use a lot of water, to say, we can give you a projection of what the rates are going to be for the next 50 years, please invest in Alsip, because you've got new pipes and we know what those rates are going to be, and you can project that out in your projections versus the city of Chicago. I think that makes a big difference.
Thank you.
Mayor, I got one more thing. I just, I appreciate saying we don't have a crystal ball, and I know you're talking about promises, but if I can talk to our attorney here, have you seen the contract that we would be entering into?
Joe got a copy of the contract last week. He sent a red line with comments to Kent. I believe.
You'll never get it on the
We got a copy of the contract last week. He did a red line draft. He sent that back to Kent, I believe, Friday. And then Ken had some comment. I think that he kind of combined all those comments and sent that out to
Eismiller.
Yeah, to Mr. Roth. I over the weekend, was it? So that's where we are. And the main concern now, is, getting the money back. Or one of the concerns that we're focused on is getting the money back if this thing doesn't come to fruition. So we're getting them to put that in an escrow account, or that's what we've requested and things of that nature.
Well, according to them, they said they wouldn't even cash the check if we don't start the project.
Well, I'm sure that's why you put it in the writing.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah, I mean, I take them at their word, but it's my job to see to make sure that all the protection that we can afford the village is in the contract.
Well, to me, that was pretty much small potatoes when we were talking what our entrance fee was going to be for this, but what I'm more concerned about is the promises and the guarantees of the rates that they're talking about. What kind of pushback can we have if they don't keep up with their end of the bargain on that?
Like any contract that you enter into with someone, you assume that everyone is acting in good faith and only makes promises that they're able to fulfill. I don't know how else to answer the question, to be honest with you. And actually, I would think that Dan or the engineer would have a better idea of how foreseeable that is, given the capital cost and the cost of maintaining, the depreciable life of the equipment, that sort of thing. That's really.
Or Mike, was your question, are those things in the contract? Or?
Well, I mean, they're telling us what the rates are going to be, what they're offering. But what I'm saying is 5, 6, 7 years down the road, after this is already up and running, your cost increases due to unforeseen things, whatever might happen, equipment failure, whatever. Are we? You're saying that we're still guaranteed, but from a law standpoint, I want to know what kind of, are we? Is this ironclad or?
In the contract?
Well, it is, and this brings under the assumption that what they're promising, because that's engineering and financial forecasting is reasonable. It's not some pie in the sky number. It's something that they can be expected to deliver upon, and that's a kind of a threshold issue, which is really more technical than it is legal. And I assume that is the case because people have looked this over and said, yeah, let's go there. But it's a contract, and they're committed to the contract. And if they can't honor their commitments because of some act of God or something like that, then it's like any other breach of the contract. You have to sue, and you see what happens. I mean, that's...
And again, Trustee, I abbreviated what I said. We took a 34-pager, made it 29. Mr. Roth got a copy of that from our attorney, Joe Kankar. But as trustee Mike Hankar just said is, we do have provision. I always do that. I don't know why. I know. Sorry, Mike. Attorney Mike Hankar says that, basically, Attorney Joe Hankar put provisions in there to try and put safeguards in there for us, for them to review and approve. Yes.
And your question's a good one. It came up in another community when we presented to their committee 2 weeks ago. And the way we answered it then also was those rate guarantees, and we're very confident of them. There's a lot of contingency built in even to those. In the end, if the agency, for whatever reason, cannot deliver the water at the rates that we're guaranteeing in the contract, also obligation to buy the water from the agency at that point. And as such, can continue on with its current supplier and no harm, no foul. Other than, and I think we acknowledged this the last time that we were here, that initial contribution would be at risk. That is correct. This $50,000 per MGD is a risk that's the risk for the reward of millions of dollars of savings over the life of the contract. And I did some numbers earlier today, and the amount that Alsip would contribute over the next 3 years, the first 3 years under the contract taking water, which would presumably be 10 years from now by the time those first 3 years are up, your return on that investment would be 450%. So the number that you would invest on the front end, 10 years later, you would make 4.5 times that amount in the savings. Over the course of the 50-year contract, the savings turn out to be knocking on the door of $175 million just for Alsip. I mean, you would save the most because you have the higher use out of any of the other customers. Right. But that's the order of magnitude of these savings, and that's only based on a model of Chicago going up at 2% each year. I think we all have our doubts whether that will hold true over the next 50 years.
Can you state again, because I think people think that they approve this and it starts next year, the water term.
Correct. No, it would start when the water starts flowing, which we are anticipating to be in 2027 to 8 years from now, presuming all the control elements of this massive project completed by the end of this year, presuming design and permitting will be started next spring. That'll be a 2 to 3 year process. Construction will be a 2 to 3 year process. So we're talking about water that would not start flowing till 27 or 28.
Okay.
If I could, Mayor, just one last thing to point out, and that is how transparent the organization is designed to be. So everything about every dime that is spent by the agency, because there's no profit motive here. The only thing that the rates are determined by is what does it cost to operate the system for all of us. So, we will be a completely audited firm, total transparency about where every dime goes. There is no such thing as getting anything like that from a supplier like Chicago or anyone else for that matter. But the reason we're happy to do that is because, again, this is just by us and for us. This is just for the Southland. And so there's no reason to not have complete disclosure of where every dime goes. So the idea is to have an extremely transparent setup so that all of the member communities, that are the customers rather, all have complete confidence in where all the money is going and that the rates are actually as low as they could possibly be. Because there's no, once the operating and maintenance costs are set, and that's how you then determine your rates, the rates don't need to go any higher because there's nothing else to spend the money on. So I just want to be very clear. That's a really important piece.
And to that end also, we talked about the comments were made about Chicago's infrastructure being old, and you could name any other supplier. It could be Oak Lawn, it could be Hammond, Indiana, it could be Harvey, anyone that serves other communities. Every single source community that sells water to others also has a water main on every single block in town that they need to maintain and ultimately replace, like Chicago is doing. Chicago's using a lot of its revenues from the suburbs in order to replace its infrastructure block by block that has nothing to do with actually delivering the water to the suburbs, but they're replacing their city infrastructure with it. The agency, when it is intact, has only the infrastructure necessary to take the water from the lake, treat it, and deliver it to the communities. There is no block-by-block infrastructure. That's one of the other reasons that we're very confident our O&M costs that get passed on to all of the customers are very predictable and much, much lower than a typical community that's taking some of those funds for its own village or city replacement fund.
So one last question by me anyway, too, is is your product basically going to parallel like some of these other suppliers like Aqua or American Water or anybody like that? Same difference?
Great question. What our plan is going to be is to have our water treatment facility treat the water identically as much as feasible to the way the city of Chicago treats it. And the main reason we want to do that, knowing that a lot of the older communities have a number of lead service lines that if the water chemistry changes, it could cause problems. We're going to try to mirror the existing treatment as closely as we possibly can. That's our goal. Aqua has a different scenario. You may have read about what happened in University Park last year. It was problematic for them. We want to make sure that we don't disrupt the water chemistry to the fullest extent possible.
Where's Aqua getting that water? Is that Chicago water?
Kankakee River.
Oh, it is. Okay. Okay, so they're pulling from another source, and that's my point, is they're pulling from a source basically paralleling what you're doing. You're just pulling a source from Indiana, per se.
From the same Lake Michigan, just on over the invisible state line that's in the lake.
Okay.
They also do lots of other things. I mean, they operate water systems for communities and have all kinds of other contracts. They're not, all that we will be doing is pulling water out of the lake, delivering it to our customers, treating it and delivering it to our customers.
Right.
All the other things that they do, no, there's nothing like that.
Okay. There's a reason, and Trustee Navas-Barza pointed out, like, the Bolingbrook area and so forth, they're using is it American or Illinois?
Illinois American Water, and they've been in a lawsuit for several years now. In fact, I testified in that event years ago, probably 8 or 9 years ago with Homer Glen.
I'm told that's some of the most expensive water around you, too.
That is correct.
And Aaron, real quick, what's the reason? Why would that be?
I think there's a lot of reasons. Part of it, and even Illinois American, they purchased that system from another private utility.
So it just transfers?
It's transferred, but there's a profit motive there.
Okay.
It's a for-profit entity, and the other thing is that's further down the stream, so to speak. It's further away from Chicago. It's further away from the lake.
Right.
So that system, they pay Chicago. They pay Bedford Park, who buys it from Chicago. Bedford Park then sells it to Illinois American. They then had the infrastructure cost to run the pipeline down to all those communities. And a couple of those towns, Illinois American also maintains the Viller system, which I think there's a lot of extra costs in their system because of that as well.
So that this way they're not doing it themselves. Understood. Okay.
So I have to state something that has nothing to do with this, but because Aaron said it, we also do complete transfer. The municipalities that borrow from us, and when Dan does new neighborhoods, he's doing with those IEPA loans, that does not flow to the municipal customers, in case they're listening. That does not flow through to them. We do those with separate loans. That's part of on the village of Alsip, and it's not part of their costs.
That's what we budget for. Exactly.
I just want to say that everyone does exactly that. Dan is charging Alsip for Alsip neighborhoods.
Thank you. So I want to keep obviously the meeting moving forward. Anyone else have a question? Okay.
Jay, could you please sign in as well?
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks much, Jay. Thanks. Trustee Navas-Barza, anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. We'll keep moving then with the Building and Health Report. Trustee Zelinski.
I have an approval of the May 2020 Health Department Monthly Activity Report. That's all I have this evening.
All right. Thank you. Human Resource and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
No report, Mayor.
As I said, Trustee, we're going to have that meeting regarding the...
I'll be in it.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Next, Economic Development, Trustee Navas-Barza.
Just reminding Alsip residents to complete their census via phone, online, or via mail, and I'll have a more detailed report next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Village Properties, Trustee McLaughlin.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Trustee, just so we can committee more about it too, but I did tell my assistant Becky Smith to keep a box to one side of the mask to be allocated over at Heritage Apartments, because a lot of those residents don't drive, and maybe we can set up something with Zyler as everybody pays their rent or something like that, whatever, we can have them work that out. So we don't have to necessarily be, physically there, but we'll do something fair, like with the management company to distribute those, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Next was the ordinance legislation. Trustee Zelinski?
No report this evening?
Okay. Thank you. Planning and zoning and licenses, Trustee Juarez.
No report.
Okay. Anybody have any presentations, petitions, or communications they wish to share?
Just a reminder that the next meeting is May 29th, so 2 weeks from tonight.
June.
June 29th, sorry. 2 weeks from tonight.
Did anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
I would like to remove letter B.
B?
I would like to remove letter A.
Letter H.
Everybody in the clerk, letter G, Trustee McLaughlin pointed out that
I will take care of the dates, yes. Okay, so just to recap, we have removed letter A as in apple, letter B as in boy, and letter H as in Harry.
Right. Can I get a motion then to establish a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Just a point of reference, letter G as in George's approval of an appropriations ordinance providing for a FY21, which is May 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2021, annual appropriation and budget for the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois. Motion to establish the consent agenda. Roll call number 1, Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Nava Esparza.
Yes.
Motion carries to establish.
Thank you. Can I get a motion then to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call number 2 to approve the consent agenda as presented. Just to note some information, letter E as in Edward is approval of a list of payroll dated June 5th, 2020 totaling $415,049.72. Letter F as in Frank is approval of a list of accounts payable dated June 15th, 2020 totaling $915,456.03. Letter G as in George, approval of an appropriations ordinance providing for a fiscal 21, which is May 1st, 2020 to April 30th, 2021, annual appropriations and budget for the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, will be ordinance number 2020-06-4. Again, roll call number 2 to approve the consent agenda. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Nava Esparza.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. We'll go back to a couple items that were pulled from the agenda. First, letter A was the approval to purchase and install a pedestal drop box on the Village Hall property. This will be utilized as a municipal walk-up or drive-up secure payment drop box for any other utility where security is necessary when payments or documents need to be deposited at the village. The cost for this equipment is approximately $800 installed by Works. The village will follow up with a camera and editing to support its use. And Trustee Wars, you pulled it. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a few questions. We're going to provide lighting. Do we know how much in lighting a year how much it's going to cost per lighting to keep it lit? Also, we're going to run video cameras. How much is it going to run to purchase and install the video cameras to keep the drop box on the camera? And how often will the box be checked?
Box has to be emptied every day by the clerk's office. And I don't have a cost on video, but we do have cameras throughout our village, so I will defer to IT on that. As far as lighting goes, again, Public Works can bring light from the building out to the curb, that kind of thing. We're going to, I told Public Works, and I'm going to have Jay Miller weigh in on it too. We're going to come up with a good spot to locate this out by the driveway by the police station.
Yeah, that's one thing we were discussing last week that we never had an answer to, was where it was going to be located.
Right now, because the parking lot access, we don't want to take away from what we have. And tentatively, we're looking at like right when you pull in the Village Hall, like when you come in the driveway on Orchard Street, it's probably right when you come in. Right now, there's a sign that says court going this way. You can always have the box right there. We'll figure out something.
So you're not going to take up any court parking spots or anything?
No. This is going to be in the driveway where you can. It's going to be drive-through, so you can just pull in, back up, to make a deposit. We'll figure something out that's comfortable for everyone as they come in.
And did you talk to Public Works about how you're going to barricade it to make sure nobody hits it? Because it doesn't look very stable to stay standing if somebody...
Oh, sure. I mean, we can put a couple of those posts out there, that kind of thing. We can figure that out, sure.
And all this different cost between the lighting, the video, barricades, the things themselves, why can't people just come up to like they've been?
They've been doing
What we're trying to do is we're trying to, obviously in the world we live in right now is going to be less contact. And we really felt there was a lot of communities that utilize a program like this already. Actually, Becky had shown me a picture this morning. She was visiting another community the other day, and they actually had they even put like a little drive-through lane, like you'd almost have like at the bank, where you just pulled up and deposited something. Our space here is a little bit confined, so I really don't want to take away if I don't have to. But we can certainly set this thing up ourselves. We've got personnel here that are being paid all day long, so all we do is pull some power, and obviously IT can work out the camera situation and so forth then too. So we're going to make the spot secure, and we're going to designate a spot that looks good.
And then how secure, let's just say one of the ladies in the office goes out to check it, how is it that you can stop them from not being robbed, or what liability are we taking if they fall on ice or something like that?
Well, you take the same liability that you put on the home or the resident or the business owner that walks up your sidewalk. Anybody can slip and fall on the sidewalk, I suppose, right?
They're going to be out there 1 times.
I would think once should suffice.
Well,
right?
currently the box in the vestibule is emptied in the morning, and up until we were closed, that was the only time it was checked. Once we went to COVID restrictions, it was checked in the morning.
It was
at
checked
least
hourly. When I went and I talked to the girls, they was checked hourly.
Right, and then over the weekend, Erica O'Donnell was coming in on Saturday and Sunday to make sure that it wasn't overflowing for that in particular.
How many pieces were in those?
Monday seems to be the heaviest, but the rest of the week it's only maybe 5 in the morning. People have been very good about utilizing mail and or doing it online.
So is Erica going to come in on Saturday and Sundays to make sure the drop box is not overflowing?
I don't think I'd ask that of
fair.
an employee.
The
No.
drop box is considerably larger than what we presently have. And to the point about the frequencies, for somebody getting hurt, if you have an employee who goes out there and checks it 1, 2, 3 times a day, and if there is minimum 5 but more in there, the number of occurrences is certainly less. And it seems to me that a slip and fall of anybody will be alleviated by that box.
I'm in agreement with you. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to reduce the frequency of the public, it's a great architecture that we have here at our village, but its location where it's at, it's on a curved sidewalk that comes up, and we did have unfortunately, we had a senior take a spill last year, and I don't think it was even wetter out, I think it was just a simple trip, and these things happen, So, in fact, we were out there, Becky, I think the weather was decent when that happened, too. It wasn't even bad weather. So, yeah, we're trying to make things more accessible to the public, trying to help out the public with a box like that. And it's probably something we should have did a long time ago. There are communities that have had these things in place forever. So, to say that we're not going to assist the public because we don't want to make trips out there, it doesn't seem very fair.
You know, Payless Park actually even has one that the municipality checks, and it's at a metro station.
Oh, that's right.
So-
I heard that.
You know, just FYI on that, and they send somebody out to pick that up. It's a convenience.
Right.
You know, just, I don't want to be like a naysayer or anything, but, I mean, we're talking about cutting budgets for how many weeks now for different things, and here we go throwing a couple grand into this. And the same thing could go with just a simple stamp as well. I mean, every post office has a mailbox that you can drive up to. So, I mean, somebody's going to have to maintain this as well.
I think the urgency, trustee, is like many things. We based on today's economy, I think many people take their bills down to the wire, and I would think that you probably hear this all the time in the clerk's office, that, and Becky, you were working there at some point, people are up at the last minute, and you know, getting a chance on having that go with Postal Service. Hopefully it shows up, but nobody wants to take that chance, which is why you have a direct box here.
To that point, though, there would need to be some guidelines established and a note of some sort put on the box, similar to when you go to the bank on Friday afternoon. Anything after 3 p.m. is dated the following business day. We certainly can't expect residents to be dropping something in the mailbox at B5 to get posted on that same day, so for something to be cut off. And further, we did have a resident that was confused and did not put something in the drop box. They actually put a payment in the mailbox at the street and wanted us to use her receipt for a money order as proof of payment. We said, we don't have the funds, you have to contact
Becky,
the post office. So
you brought that up to me today about we can add signage to it, which we plan to do. And what was the verbiage that you had earlier? The same thing that the clerk just said?
Any payment that's dropped off before or after 8:40 or whatever time you put won't be processed until the following day.
Great. So nobody can assume, it's going to say right on the box.
I understand that, but, trying to make sure that we're not getting pushback, that we're not processing something in time so that...
No. Because if it's emptied every evening, it's a done deal. You can't say we're not here after 4 o'clock, so it's certainly not being processed following day. Okay. Anybody else on this?
I'm just kind of baffled about, the comment that I was meant. We're an entity, and, we have the public that perhaps has limited ability to get out of their vehicle, and we're trying to accommodate that. And in regards to budgets, I secured a $10,000 census grant, so I'm not sure if that kind of offsets any other monies that we had in our budget or what. So I think instead of showing like the no, I don't see what the. There we go. We like trying to find the no and trying to do a public good, But this, but that. It's like, let's come with solutions. And we have people in our community that have limited mobility. And also, as I mentioned, there's families with young children that perhaps have children in multiple car seats, and I have young children that are in 2 car seats. It's a need. It's, it's taxpayer money. Let's do our residents a service instead of finding no, why not. And it seems like it's also internal, controls and procedures that can be ironed out internally versus at a public meeting. Just we post information on our website and so forth. And that's what I'll say about that.
Okay. Trustee, did you want to make the motion on that? No? Okay. This was under my report. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
Second.
Roll call number 4, letter A, is approval to purchase and install a Pedestax on the Village Hall property, utilized as a municipal walk or drive-up secure payment drop box, or for any other utility where security is necessary when payments or documents need to be deposited at the village. The cost for this equipment is approximately $800 and can be installed by Public Works. Village IT will follow up with a camera and adequate lighting to support its use and safety. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
No.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Nava Esparza.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Next was the letter B, was the approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 3 advertising Article 2, signs, Section 3-27, prohibited signs and Section 3-30, location of signs and zoning districts of the municipal code of the Village of Alsip. Trustee McLaurin, did you have a question on that?
I pulled this for a separate vote strictly because, well, I mean, one, it's nothing more than electronic billboards. And absolute boards with a passion will consistently vote against relating to billboards. I find them to be distracting, and especially on something like this with an LED at street level. We have enough issues with the business LED signs causing distractions to drivers, and I think this will just compound the issue. And on top of that, I mean, yes, we get a free message, but other than the original permit, there's no financial value to the village for doing this. So I look at it as we're causing distracted driving, we're not getting any financial benefit out of it, and then potentially somewhere down the road, we can be held hostage by a billboard company who refuses to relocate their sign when we need their property.
What about something, I'm not going to debate it because that's not my position at a meeting, but like I said, sometimes even if it's a mayor just advertising events like National Night Out, things like that. That's all, that's just my take.
Well, we have a sign out here that we can do it. We have the cable channel. I mean, for the potential headache and the fact that we're not getting any revenue out of this to advertise for National Night Out, I don't think it's worth it.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? Again, this was on my, this was my agenda item. Can I get a second and move forward with this?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call number 4 to approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 3, advertising, Article 2, signs, Section 3-27, prohibited signs, and Section 3-30, location of signs in zoning districts of the municipal code of the Village of Alsip, with a correction in Section 3 that it is advertising signs in the form of multi-message monument signs on corner lots at the corner of the intersection of two county, two state, or county and state thoroughfares, provided the sign structure does not exceed 12 feet in height, 16 feet in width, and 4 in depth.
Yes.
Again, roll call number 4 for approval of this. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trensky.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
No.
Trustee McLaughlin.
No.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navas Esparza.
No.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
Motion carries. This will become ordinance number 2020-06-5.
Next, we had the letter H, approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, approving a water supply contract with the Southland Water Agency. That was pulled by Trustee Navas Esparza. Do you have a question?
I know that it was suggested perhaps to push this back to a vote for until the 29th. We don't have anything scheduled, but if we get a consensus, or I'm not sure how we would move forward in that route, to get other pieces of information to make a decision, or if not, we bring it to a vote tonight.
That's your prerogative. I'm only here in the event of a tie. If that's your wish, you can make that motion.
And Mayor, I brought that out as a suggestion. Actually, all the questions that I had been answered many times over. I guess I just needed to hear it a few times to get it through my thick skull.
All right, understood. So, let's put it this way then. And I understand your concerns on that too, Trustee Nava-Esparza. At present, the question would be, did someone wish to make the motion to approve it, the ordinance the way this ordinance the way it stands? Would be the question first, and if that were to fail, then we could certainly table. You could make the motion to table.
Okay. So, I'd like to make a motion to table until the 29th, but is that how I would say it? This is my first motion and asking a question.
Make a motion to table, and at the meeting after making the motion to remove.
To take it from the table. I'm sorry, I said it the other way around. Right.
You can take no action, set consensus, kind of an agreement to discuss it on the 29th, but if the motion to table, then you're going on.
But then would we need to set up a special meeting on the 29th if we wanted to vote on it that night?
Which would then would most likely happen after the committee meeting then, so that you could have your discussion on the 29th. So it would be a committee and then a board meeting.
Right. So the trustee, what she is saying right now, and again, if the board wishes to pursue the table that Trustee Nava-Esparza is suggesting or making the motion to do, if that were to fail, then certainly we can move forward with the vote on this then too. So that's where the board comes into play here then too. Is Trustee Nava-Esparza is asking to table the motion. Was there a second for that? If not, we can go back to the original motion then here.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. Did anyone wish to make a motion to approve letter H, the approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, approving a water supply contract with the Southland Water Agency?
I'd make the motion.
Second.
So just to recap, the motion to table did not receive a second. So we are going on to roll call number 5 for approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip, Cook County, Illinois, approving a water supply contract with the Southland Water Agency. Roll call number 5, Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Zelinski.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez.
Yes.
Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Nava-Esparza.
Yes.
Motion carries. This will become ordinance number 2020-06-6.
Thank you very much, everyone. Next, did anyone have any unfinished business? Any new business? Trustee, Mike, I apologize. I want to make you a trustee instead of an attorney, you know?
Sign I
Yeah.
needed.
A little bit about myself.
Yeah, Attorney Kanker, Mike, I've got some paperwork to give you for it. Thank you. Then can I get a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second. Aye.
Very good. Thank you very much. Adjourn this meeting at 4. And again, we appreciate everyone attending this evening, too.
Make enough money, get out of here.